Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. We're back again with a day in the life of a CISO, and we have a very special person with us today, Abbas Kudrati. I'm a huge fan, and I follow him and his work in cybersecurity industry. About him, lot to say. A chief security advisor for Microsoft and an experienced CISO for last 20 years. In his role, he advises customer CISOs on Microsoft products. He's an adjunct professor, a thought leader, a keynote speaker at many events. He's also a part-time author, has released one book and a few more coming soon around zero trust, digital risk, and many more things. Thank you so much, Abbas, for joining me today. So glad to have you.
Thank you, and thanks for having me here. My pleasure.
Abbas, we do want to know about your journey. How did you start off in cybersecurity and then moving on to the role of CISO and advising CISOs?
Yeah, sure. So basically, I'm an accountancy and auditing graduate. So I don't have a degree in IT or cybersecurity as such, or information security as such. But while doing my college itself and during the school time itself, I had an exposure to the magical box of computer. And from there, I had a spark that I want to learn this information technology or IT. And during my college days, since I did not pursue an engineering degree, I started studying accountancy and auditing because it would help my parents into that business. But I was curious in IT, so I did a diploma and from NIIT for 3 years diploma. And after that, I got my first break with in Pune with a GE Power. I started my career as a system admin. So those days, security was not a thing. It used to be just IT and systems and programming. So I was not that great in programming. I knew programming, but was not that great. But I love the systems management, the configuring of firewalls and routers and managing the networks and Windows NT servers, all these. So I started my career in very much as a system admin. Then later I moved around and became a network security engineer, learning the firewall and IPS and routing side. And from there, I became an IT auditor, joining a consultancy firm like KPMG. So I became a CISO certified and learned the governance, risk, and compliance front. And during that time, I had a passion for ethical hacking. So I became a pen tester and an IT auditor, combined role. And from there, after working as a consultant with EY and KPMG in Middle East, where I was after moving from India, I had a first break to become a CISO and help the entire government of Kingdom of Bahrain into their implementation of digital transformation during those days. It should be IT transformation or business process reengineering, as they call it. Now we call it digital transformation, but that time it was a business process reengineering, transforming the manual process into digital platform. So there I became a CISO, and after that, the rest is history. I moved around. I have grown as a CISO, what I used to do and how I used to enjoy my role. And from there, now I'm with Microsoft, advising the CISO community with the cybersecurity strategy and getting the best value of their investment from Microsoft side.
Glad to know that, sir. Sir, there is one thing I do want to know. When you're advising CISOs, how different it is to be a CISO and advising CISOs?
Yeah. So I've been a CISO for a number of years, and when I get an opportunity to apply for a job in Microsoft, I thought, do I want to really leave my job and a fancy title of a CISO and become a CISO advisor? But then I thought, why not? It is giving me a better platform to help a wider community and still be connected to the CISO community by working for a company like Microsoft, such a big tech giant. So it was a bit of a different move. I was initially hesitant to leave my title and a role of a CISO, but after joining Microsoft, I think I'm really enjoying still being connected to the CISO community. I still evangelize and write blogs about the CISO challenges. I present to many forums and our customer CISO in terms of what other CISOs are doing and how they can learn from my experience as a CISO and learn from my experience by helping other CISO within different region. Because as you know, I cover a large region. I cover India, Australia, New Zealand, and entire Southeast Asia. So I have access to all types of CISOs from various industry in various countries, which is the beauty of my role, and I'm really enjoying that part.
Right, I agree. I think that's very, very meaningful. And when you advise these CISOs, do you influence the board decisions as well? Because now, when CISOs are getting the seat on the table, they are getting an opportunity to influence CISOs, influence board members and other fellow members. Now, there's one point that comes to my mind is that when the influence happens, there are certain strategies that come into picture. And while you're advising, you are actually helping them with strategies. So, are you in turn influencing the board as well? Or do you speak to the board members as well of those companies?
Yeah, absolutely. So, see, every CISO has a different kinds of journey, right? And I get different types of requests from various CISOs, either it's in India or abroad or in Asia. One such example I can give you is many times CISO just starts a new role into that company, but I knew that company much before the CISO started because they have been my customer, and I knew the previous CISO. So they come to me saying that, okay, so Abbas, how you have been helping the previous CISO, and what can you help me in my role to bring up to the speed, because they always want to get quickly on the ground and work in that company. So I bring that kind of a handover even though I'm not working for that company, but I can bridge the gap, which I have a knowledge about that company as an advisor and working with the previous CISO. Uh, second kind of help I get is many times the CISOs are advised to present to the board members, or to go with a strategy or talk about that what's happening around the world or what are the various challenges CISOs are having. So I go and prepare a presentation for them, and either I give them the input that these are the things we have from the CISO survey which Microsoft conducts and from the other threat intelligence source what we have. That way they can go and present to their board member. The third kind of request I get is many times they want an external influencer to come and present on their behalf and host me, right? So I get invited into annual board meetings or quarterly board meetings along with CISO. CISO will introduce that we have somebody from Microsoft as an APEC level advisor, and he would like to come and present to you that what's happening. So in turn, I help the CISO to influence the board in a three-way within their role by providing the right information and the statistics so they can present. And the third way, I go and co-present and help the CISO in influencing the board member in a way.
That's totally incredible. And while you're doing that, what are the new technological challenges that you're seeing? And if I have to say that, what are the new things that are coming in an industry? Specifically in the past 2 years and 2.5 years, there's a lot being changed. The way we envision security has changed. The way we think about security has changed, and the product. So, how exactly that shift you are seeing in the industry?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have been following the industry for many years, and as a part of my role, that's my job to follow the industry and the pattern, right? If you look at the CISO's focused pre-pandemic, their focus was mostly on focusing on EDR and focusing on on-premise security and antivirus and anti-malware. All of a sudden, during pandemic, the focus was change of CISO to focus on securing the identity. Multi-factor authentication became the number one priority for all the CISOs because now the employees are working from home and securing the identity was number one in priority. Why? Because identity-based attack, the phishing attack, the password spray attack, almost 300% increase we saw during the last 2 years, right? So that shift has changed. And post-pandemic, now people are thinking, okay, I want to secure my cloud investment because during the last 2 years, all of a sudden, digital transformation was increased. The project plans which were there for 5 years, they shrink into a couple of months. They have to deliver those things, move environment and application on the cloud, and also secure them. So now CISOs are focusing on how they can protect their hybrid and a multi-cloud environment using the current investment what they have from Microsoft. And that's our focus as well from the technology provider point of view. In terms of next priority, what CISOs have started thinking, you may have heard the buzzword called zero trust, right? I can call it a buzzword because everyone is talking about it. Every security conference you go, every webinar you go, zero trust will be one of the talk of the town. And I ended up writing a book on zero trust, which is going to be released in the next few months because everyone is talking. I said, I have to think about it and see what kind of information is available, because customers and the CISOs are getting a lot of conflicting definitions and conflicting information on zero trust. I thought I had to do some research on that. So I ended up writing a book. Maybe some other time we'll talk about the book. But zero trust, or you call it a cybersecurity mesh, you call it a dynamic trust, you call it a GATA framework, name it. Different people call it a different naming, but at the end of the day, it's an architecture where you want to allow all your employee to work remotely using any device and any location, right? And having a remove the complete explicit trust factor. Yeah, anyway, short definition of zero trust, right? But zero trust has become another talk of the town, not from the technology point of view, but from the model and an architecture and a mindset point of view. This is what I'm seeing in last few years, the shift in the CISO's priority.
Right, sir. And when the zero trust starts picking up, when zero trust is coming into picture, I'm sure that people way of taking care of different things, like we talked about, identities have changed. Now, apart from zero trust, is there anything that people have started to pick up, like maybe anything which is, or I have to say, if there are any change in the strategies?
Yep. So strategy point of view, there are two areas, right? Actually, three areas. Identity, always a focus. Endpoint, definitely now they're thinking from an XDR point of view, extended detection and remediation, because they have a multi type of environment where they have iOS device, Android device, Windows device, Linux device, server. They need to protect from a single platform point of view. How I can use my XDR technology to manage all the various broken points I have, so that I have a good consolidation view. So vendor consolidation, product consolidation is one of the top priorities. According to even Gartner released a prediction of 2022. They said the number 3 priority, apart from board education and identity, third priority is a vendor and a product consolidation. So CISOs are thinking from that point of view as well. Next, but not last, but not the least, is focusing on an architecture model according to the zero trust is something which they have to start. They're already planning it. They have been doing bits and pieces of zero trust architecture, but they were not aware. But now that the concept is much more clear, people are talking about it. Every vendor is sharing their mind share on zero trust. CISOs have now started looking at, I already have that product, I already have that initiative, I already have this particular technology, how it can fit into my overall architecture or a model which everyone is talking about from the zero trust point of view. So these initiatives have already been taken care by CISOs today.
Right, sir. And sir, when a new CISO joins an organization, it is there are a lot of challenges which are there, and especially now when the strategies are changing, the vision is changing. What would be your 3 advices to the people, specifically around cybersecurity, where they can make their own vision for 30, 60, 90 days?
Of course, I love this particular question because it's a very, very common dilemma. A lot of new budding CISOs who are, or aspiring CISO who I mentor as a part of my social service. I do mentoring for many professionals. So I always advise them that, okay, within first 30 days, don't think of boiling the ocean and go and try to fix everything what the company problem is. Your first 30 days should be knowing the business which you are being hired for. Go and meet each and every department you have within your company, understand what they do, how they do, what kind of tools and technology use, what kind of data they create, and what according to them is a crown jewel. Everyone have a different point of view. You ask a financial department, he will say or she will say my ERP system or the SAP system is my crown jewel. You go and ask IT department, he will say my Active Directory and my servers and the file servers are our crown jewel. You ask a different department, he would say my point of sale system is a crown jewel. So go and understand why they are saying that this is the critical process, most critical process. What, according to them, if not available, will be a huge impact for their role. Forget the company. You first focus on the individual department, right? So understanding the company, meeting all the stakeholder which you will be required to have a buy-in as you move forward in your role is very, very important. And that's a mistake I have done in past. I was not a super expert in everything. This is the first mistake and the first lesson I learned as a CISO when I started my career. Rather than fixing and meeting the business people, I started doing the pen test and vulnerability assessment, right? And I told you that was a failure, or the nail in on the last nail on the coffin, as we call it, right? So you don't try to go and straight away show off your technical muscle. Oh, I'm a pen tester by heart. I'm going to go and rip apart my network and identify all the loophole and go and tell the CIO, go fix it. You will be fired next day. I can tell you that, right? So my first advice, first 30 days, go create your ally, build up your ally network, go and talk to all the business people who you're going to work, meet the CRO, meet the privacy officer, meet the legal officer, meet the HR folks, learn the policy that they have, how they sign up on the policy, meet the CEO, CIO, all those people, all C-level, along with all the business folks. 30 days is a short period, I would say. You may need more than that. So first 30 to 45, maybe 60 days, depends upon the size of company, right? First priority, understand the business. What are the crown jewels? What are the critical processes you need to focus on? Then you start benchmarking yourself. What yardstick I'm going to use to assess my existing posture? Before finding the technical gap, and find the people process gap in your environment, that, okay, these are the processes we operate today. I'm going to benchmark against NIST cybersecurity framework or 27001. No one size fit for all. You pick and choose the framework you are comfortable and you can do on your own, rather than going after 30 days, give me $50,000. I need to hire EY, KPMG consultant or PwC consultant to come and do the benchmarking assessment. Settle down, guy. Then you go and ask for money. Use the benchmarking which you are experienced with. If you are experienced 27001, simple. Go and find the tool, easily available Excel file. Go and benchmark your process so you know exactly what are the gaps. Identify the people process gap. Now you go ahead and fire your pen test vulnerability assessment tool, if at all, if you are feeling an urge of finding the gap, right? So then go and look at it from that point of view. Then what are the various attack surface I have, what attack surface I need to protect, and then build up a plan together using a threat matrix, that these are the various threats to my business. These are the things I have today in place from people process technology. This is the current gap. This is my roadmap. And now I will go and meet my stakeholders and call them for the meeting, saying that, okay, I've done 90 days in my role as a CISO. This is my way forward plan. This is what you told me, your priority. This is how I'm going to align my priority with you as a technology, and hey business with you as a business. So my priorities, my strategy has to align with business, technology, and security. They all have to have a sync. If that is not done, you are not going to be successful in your role as a CISO. Right? That's my advice.
Wonderfully said, sir. I am sure people, budding CISOs like me, have a lot to learn from you.
Welcome. I appreciate it. Yeah.
Sir, before we conclude, I do want to know that any books, any podcast, any URL that you feel people should look at, specifically the budding CISOs.
Yep. First and foremost, I would highly recommend you go and look on a Microsoft website or go and search it, CISO workshop. There is a detailed training available from Microsoft, created by people like us in Microsoft who are ex-CISOs. We have created a CISO workshop, which talks about, of course, it is a bit Microsoft-centric, but starts from the top, from the strategy point of view. There are a number of such CISO workshop and CISO blogs on Microsoft portal, which at least 3 or 4 blogs I have written it, which talks about CISO role and many others. So that's one thing. We have heaps and heaps of information. Second, there are CISO podcasts available, like CISO Magazine is one, which I remember. There is one from ITP News. They have it. ISMG Media Group. I regularly speak in their forum. Most recently, I recorded one recording on ISMG on Russia-Ukraine part. So ISMG also has lots and lots of good content by external speakers like myself and the professional CISOs to look forward. Yeah. So these are some of the things which you can look around, and be connected with communities like Gartner, Forrester. They release lots of research paper out from the CISO point of view and CISO role point of view, which can also give you a bit of a highlight. What is the focus area? As I said, right? Gartner, according to Gartner, number 3 priority is vendor consolidation. And they know because they have been talking to a number of CISOs and doing the research in that field, right? So be connected with those kind of folks as well. They give you a lot of insight. And of course, follow people like chief security advisors like me. We post a lot of information based on the information access we have and what we learn from the market and other community folks like you all.
Thank you so much, sir. It was wonderful to have you, and your insights are very valuable. I have learned personally a lot, and I'm sure whosoever is going to listen to it, it's going to be amazing for them as well.
My pleasure. Always pleasure to talk to you, Vandana.
Thank
Doing a
you
great
so
job.
much, sir. Thank you for joining me today.
Welcome.